Broadcasting from Salisbury University campus, this is WSDL Ocean City, NPR News Talk 90.7, putting Delmarva first. Stay tuned for Delmarva Today with your host, Don Rush.
As we mark the festive season with a gathering of family and friends, there are those who only have a shelter to mark the holidays. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. National Alliance to End Homelessness says there are around 7,100 homeless in the state of Maryland. That's 12 out of every 10,000 residents. It says one of the key factors is the lack of affordable housing for low-income families. Meanwhile, homelessness has been connected to poor health care and domestic violence. In our studio this morning is Celeste Savage. She's Executive Director of Halo Ministries, which helps the homeless here in Salisbury. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So what's your sense about where we are with homelessness? Has it gotten worse, do you think, over time? Obviously, we've come out of the Great Recession, which clearly put a lot of people in jeopardy. Where are we, do you think?
Well, I just feel that it's a continual situation that's going on, and for us at Halo, we continue to serve those that's coming through, and the numbers increase, and especially during this time, it just seems to increase.
Are there certain factors I indicated a moment ago? There's obviously affordable housing, but are there certain factors and the kinds of people that you see?
Well, I think that housing is a big issue, but a bigger issue to me, helping these individuals to get back on their feet, but with a foundation, because you can put a person into a home, but if they don't have a foundation know how to pay their bills, have an income, all of that, you're going to run into 3-4 months down, 5 months down the road, they're going to be gone.
So is it just simply, in part, the fact that they don't have employment, or they don't know how to get employment?
Yeah, I think it's they don't know how to get employment. They don't know how to manage money. They're at the bottom, and when you get to the bottom, you begin to lose hope. And so that's the mission of Halo, is to restore that dignity and that hope back into the person, and giving them classes that will help them know how to manage life, basically. So,
and are you seeing more families? I know I talked to Jim Barnes over at the Christian Shelter. Yeah, and he says that he's seen a lot more families.
We're seeing a lot of families coming through, and moms with children coming through, and for whatever reason, it just seems to be growing.
Any sense about the nature of these families? Did they live okay before, or they've always been low income, or?
I think in the reality of things, they're to me, they're a lot of the low income, but at the same time, we have individuals coming through that have fallen on bad times, and you start talking about it hits your pride. It hits, it's a reality that you didn't ever expect to be in the shelter, and so you kind of spin with that. So I think it's a combination of both.
So give some people a sense of what it's like to be homeless in, say, Salisbury. What is that experience like? Where do you stay? Where do you get the things that you need? I mean, what's that? What do they tell you?
Well, I think if you want to look at just the homeless person on the street that's brand spanking new, they don't really know where to go, and at Halo, what we try to do is obviously provide the shelter. We provide 3 meals a day. We provide the basic need, and then we offer, and I say it that way because it's there for our homeless friends and neighbors to come in for the basic need. But there's other services that they need to be able to get a hold of. And coming into Halo, we have the case management to point them in the direction where they need to go to be able to get the services that they need to help them get back on their feet. So for a homeless person on the street, it's kind of like you're turning around, where do I go? I would like to believe that when they get to Halo, they have a place not just to stay, not just to eat, not just to take a shower, but a place that can give them the resources, point them in the resources that are available.
I mean, obviously it's getting cold, and more doubt it'll probably snow, and that the churches will be opening up, and so on. Is this a tougher time for the homeless because of the weather, or is it sometimes an easier because it's holidays and maybe a family would take them in for a while?
Yeah, I think during the holidays the doors tend to open a little bit, but also during the holidays there's more depression involved. Also, we look at this time of year and go, okay, this is when the main focus begins to happen for homelessness. Homelessness is a 365 day. So for us, it can be in the middle of summer, and then we're looking at the heat, and all of that. So it's a 365 day experience that we work with. But probably the holidays are the most difficult because of the depression that begins to set in.
I mean, it is, most people are running around, they're shopping and so on and so forth with some great expectations. But does that then create a contrast for somebody who's homeless, who's pretty on the edge?
Yeah, I think especially the moms with the kids, and again, you're looking at individuals that do not know how to manage their money or have that income coming in. So that becomes a frustration, because if they don't have the income coming in, they don't have money to buy for the kids. If they do have money coming in, they don't really know how to manage it. So then they feel bad, and then they go out and buy all these toys and things like that. So it's a tough situation. So.
What impact is there then on the children? Obviously, particularly in the holidays, where they see, this is a festive time, and yet here they are.
Well, at Halo, it becomes a different ballgame, because we do different things with our guests. We are a hand-up organization, and so at Christmas time, a lot of the community will step up and sponsor or support. And then what we end up doing with some of the items that come through is we make it available to the moms and the dads that are in the shelter. And so what we have them do is, like, if they go into the community and they volunteer or they serve in the community and we are made aware of it, then they get the little tickets. Mm-hmm. And then they have the 2 weeks to get tickets, and then we put a quote-unquote ticket price on the item, and they actually purchase the item, even though there's no money exchange. And our goal is to help restore that dignity. And so they really feel like, instead of it being a handout, they feel like it's, they earned it to buy this for their children. So,
what kind of impact does this have on children in general? Do they just simply adapt, or does it shape the way they view the world?
I think that for a lot of kids that are there, mom, dad is security, and as long as they're with them, that's part of the battle has been solved. But the lifestyle is the most difficult, and they begin to take on the same, I guess I want to say, mindset that the parents have, and unfortunately that might even be a defeated mindset. At Halo, we have a youth and children's center. We call it Eagle Wings, because eagles soar high. Mm-hmm. So
right.
And it's very active with, we have the Board of Education sends in tutors so our kids can stay at the level they need to stay. Transportation picks up and drops off without children being on the bus, so that they're not ridiculed because they're in a shelter. And we're seeing our kids really excelling in school. There's a normalcy, because we want to break the cycle of homelessness. So,
right, exactly.
So I think that it has an impact. To answer your question, it truly has an impact, because we get for me, when we started Halo and seeing the need, and now a couple years ago we pulled in the Eagle Wings program. The reason for that was because I saw moms coming back that were children that were in our shelter, and then they were coming back and they had babies, and we had to stop this cycle. So that's why we did what we did.
How important is that educational component for these children?
That's one of our top priorities, because that keeps them at the level they need to be. That opens opportunities. If they're pulling D's and failing and doing all that, they're not going to excel. So if we can keep them at the B level or above, that gives them so many opportunities. And we have a fantastic administrator in there that just connects with the schools. Whatever opportunities are out there, we're aware to get these kids plugged into.
And how hard is this homelessness on women as opposed to, say, men? Does it present more difficult? I mean, obviously, I would think, for instance, it might be more dangerous. Obviously, if they're out in the cold and areas. I mean, what sense do you get about that?
Yeah, I think it is more difficult for the women. However, I think at the same time, women are pretty strong, so they become more creative. Men, they can be out in the weather, and I mean, goodness gracious, they go deer hunting. So
what can you say? I know.
Yeah, what can I say with that? But at the same time, for women, a lot of them are managing children.
Right.
I mean, right now in the shelter, we have 7 women that are pregnant, and 5 of which are going to be having babies before Christmas. They have to be strong. And I will say, as a director, I look at them and sometimes I just pray and say, Lord, give me that strength, because it's got to be a difficult move for them to be on the street. And so, but they're strong.
It had not occurred to me that there might be homeless women who are pregnant. How do they deal with their future and the demands that obviously pregnancy has on a woman just in general?
Yeah, I think it's that's a big piece, and it has to be tough, and that's why we look at it and give them every opportunity to move forward. We give them the parenting classes. We give them tot time in the Eagle Wings. We have mommy and me time. We have the parenting class. We have just the different activities and classes to help them understand how to be a good mom, how to get back on their feet, and that sort of thing. So it's tough. In the shelter, we do provide the pack and play. We don't use cribs. We use the pack and plays, and they have that. We provide pretty much what's needed. At the same time, I like to call it compassion with accountability. So that's kind of what we do with the ladies. We try the best we can to help move them forward.
Of course, all this is sort of temporary, right? I mean, it's like they're passing through, so
Right.
It's like they got to. After some time, I don't know how much time you allot, but eventually they have to move on. And how do you negotiate that, particularly if somebody has gone through this and maybe they've tried as hard as they could, and yet they may not be ready?
Well, at our shelter, we give 90 days in and then out 60 days, and then they can come back. But we do have a program called Journey of Hope, and it's a long-term program. And if these individuals, and we have it both for the women as well as for the men, if these individuals want to make that change, that life change, then they can come into our program. They get to stay for 12 months. And let me tell you, if we can encourage them to be in the program and they come on board with us and begin to apply what we have, when they leave, they have money in a savings account. They have sustainable income. They're planning. I talked earlier about a foundation. We give them that foundation, working with the community, 8 different agencies, to get them into a place, and it becomes a win-win situation for everyone.
What kind of educational levels and what kind of skill levels do these folks have when you see them?
It varies. I mean, it really is a wide spectrum. I can tell you, I've actually had professors that have been homeless, and so this really doesn't really matter. What matters, I think, is what life throws at them and how they deal with it, and that's the big piece. I think it amazes me, but all of us are in that possibility, just a paycheck or two away. If somebody gets sick in the family, and you spend everything you have, and then something major happens, you can be right there too.
Right.
So all of us can fit into that just about.
There but for, yes.
Yep.
In terms of families who have people who are homeless, obviously they invite them in and so on. What kind of relationship is there between somebody who is homeless and, say, their family, their extended family?
Again, that becomes a different ball game in that you have some homeless that have, I call it, burnt all the bridges. And then we have some homeless that, because they have fallen on the hard times, they've made choices that are not good, like the drugs or alcohol. They're ashamed, so therefore they don't contact their family. I remember one incident that we had with a lady that had been out of contact with her family for about 5 or 6 years, and she came into the shelter, made a complete turnaround. It was beautiful, and she called her mom, and I'll never forget the scream, because they thought she was dead. So, I mean, it just goes from one spectrum to the other end of, that relationship with family. A lot of times they'll open the door, like I said, at Christmas for a couple days, just because that's supposed to be the family thing to do. But when you're dealing with individuals that tend to be in that hopeless state, until you can give them the hope, they're going to keep on repeating the same things over and over. So then the families say, we just can't deal with it, and they're back out on the street again.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying from the family's perspective that they try to do something, they try to do something, and they just give up. Especially
Right.
if somebody has a drug problem or something like that, they don't know what else to do.
Yeah, and that's what, for us, I'm glad we're there. We can be that in between spot, and if the guest, our homeless guests are ready to make that change, we're going to be there to help them, walk along. Again, I go back to compassion with accountability. We'll walk alongside of them as long as they're going to walk that path until we can reunite. And it's pretty awesome experience when they get their life turned around and they reconnect with family. It's awesome to see, because obviously we believe in family, so that's pretty cool to see it.
Let me ask a couple of questions, sort of vignette-wise. What was the most emotionally impacted moment you had in dealing with, say, a particular individual and who was homeless?
I think the one I just mentioned.
Yeah.
For one thing, we did Halo on the Street, which was we would go out on the street and serve, and I met this person on the street. And when she decided she was kind of getting tired of living life this way, and she came in, and then we began to work, together. And she's a great friend of mine now, and we began to work that through. But boy, again, I will never forget that day that phone call was made. And then, we surprised her with we brought her daughter and grandson up, and it was pretty life-changing for me, just seeing where decisions can take you, what homelessness does to you, the hopelessness that's involved, and then loving on people enough. Our mission statement is to love them like Jesus, so that's unconditionally. It doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter where you've been. We're going to love you, and then we're going to love you till you love yourself, basically.
On the opposite side of this, is there someone that you just couldn't help, that you kind of lost to homelessness?
Well, yes, there unfortunately are those that you really want to see make it through, but they just choose to keep on going down the path they're going, and and you get a phone call and say, "Did you know such and such passed away?" or "Did you know they found him?" I even have been out and to ID individuals, and that's a hard ball game, and you just don't want that for somebody. But everybody has a choice, so and that's how you have to live with it. You do the best you can, and you live with that, knowing that you did the best, but they're the ones that have to make the choice.
By the way, in terms of men, what's that experience like? We tend to have these images of men who are they're alcoholics, or they have drug problems, that kind of thing. What do you see in terms of men?
I think that's a yes statement to a lot. I think what's happening more so now, not only with men but with women, the mental health piece is very, very huge, and that's one of the areas we're working on, and now to even have an area for the mental health homeless, so that we can. We're not professionals as far as that part goes, so I got to bring people in, but men. They do when they lose control of life, they will turn to alcohol or drugs, and then if you add the mental health to it, you have dual diagnosis going on, and it's pretty rough at that point. But I can tell you from our we've been open now for 12 years. Mm-hmm. Hard to believe, but been open for 12 years, and 9 times out of 10, there's not been problems. Once in a blue moon, we'll have a major incident that I call a major incident. That's where it's a fight or something, but the guys are fantastic coming through, very respectful. I think sometimes homeless individuals may get a bad rap because of the very few that are out there that make it that way. But the vast majority, it's nothing. I mean, we in our cafe, we served over 70,000 meals last year. And when they walk through, it's nothing to have almost every one of them. When you put hand them the plate with the food, thank you so much for being here. So I just think it's, there's some that's difficult because of the drugs or alcohol, but outside of that, the vast majority are fantastic people.
How do you see the city and government in general dealing with homelessness here in Salisbury? And obviously we've had, in fact, just recently, I guess, in national news, there's been talk about the homeless in California and so on and so forth. How are we doing enough, do you think?
I think that the city is, trying to pull out the stops to help in any way to get the homeless off of the street. I think they're doing the best that they can. I think, again, what it boils down to is there has to be that educational piece, and there has to be that hope restored for all of it to be successful. The good part is, work. We all need to work together as far as the agencies, because all of us can't do all of it. So, we have to work together. It's what is it? It takes a village, So.
Right. No. So, but I know the mayor, Jake Day, who's in the armed services himself, is focused particularly on vets. How large of a component, or how important of a component is that for folks that you see? You see a lot of vets, or a few? Or? We
see a lot of vets that come through, and we immediately refer them to the veterans, group, and so that they can get plugged into the services that they need to be plugged into. Again, I don't believe in recreating the wheel. Why should I be doing it when we have a fantastic organization that works with the veterans? So we just, call them and say, hey, we've got this guy or this woman, and they send a representative over, and if they need to stay with us for a bit, they can stay, or if they can find them housing right away, then so be it.
Now you have some partnership, I guess, with the Rummel Harley Davidson. Is that right?
Yeah,
Tell me about that.
Well, they're doing a food drive for us, and actually, I did not know about it right away. They called in and talked to my administrative assistant there, and then she told me, and I went, wow, that is so amazingly awesome. And I know they're finishing up, I think, this weekend or something for us, and the community has just been amazing, and I will tell you, I tell the team, when we start seeing the items coming in, and this time of year it does come in, and it actually helps us through the whole year. But when we start seeing the community come on board, that just encourages us. So to have them come on, Ron come on board in this capacity and provide, it helps the staff and the team just say, you know what, we got to keep on plugging. So not only do we get the benefit of the food, but we get that encouragement.
Yeah. Is there anything more you think this community can do?
I think we have an amazing community, and they are on top of it. I can tell you, Russ, I put a call out to the people, to the community through our Facebook page, and this is what we need. And I can tell you they are right there. And we make sure that we let our guests know that this is the community doing this. They believe in you, and they believe in you do have value. And that really puts on a whole different picture for them.
We've been speaking with Celeste Savage. She is the Executive Director of Halo Ministries, which helps out the homeless here in Salisbury. I appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed being here.
This has been Delmarva Today. I'm Don Rush. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for watching Delmarva Today, a production of Delmarva Public Radio. Production and audio engineering by Chris Rank. Hosted by Don Rush. For podcasts, visit delmarvapublicradio.net or subscribe to the Delmarva Today podcast on iTunes. You can also watch Delmarva Today on PAC 14 by tuning into Comcast Channel 14 or youtube.com/PAC 14.